Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
How's it going?
Hey, Jared. How are you today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks, everyone, for joining. We will give everyone a few moments to join up as normal. We have one pre-submitted question. I'll post that in the chat here in just a moment, and then we will kick off here. Okay, let's start with a question here from Mr. Terry Weatherstone. Find the question. I just had it here. Just a moment. Sabs, lunch and learn.
I can give you a synopsis if you want.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
And how are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you, Will? I'm
Doing good.
so one thing that I'd like to do. So making reports is easy to do, and that's great if you have kind of like a normal simple data structure.
Okay.
Imagine that you've got something like orders. All right. I have order 1, 2, 3, and 4. And each one has a date, and each one has an amount. Right.
Okay.
Presenting that on a report is easy to do. Is there a way to aggregate that information? For instance, I mean, right now you could hit group, and I could group the orders by date, say.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having like all the orders that were placed on October 22nd showing up in one group, like here's one line for October 22nd, here's another line for October 22nd, here's a third line for October 22nd. Could you have one line that says, here's the total amount and the total number of orders that was placed on October 22nd?
Like, this is an independent report that you're running here? That's just
Right.
showing you the aggregate?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Not in the report designer. If this ask came across my desk, I would just look to do that work in SQL and then use the SQL, either the raw SQL or create a defined query as the data source for that report. And then just do like the sum or the average work inside of the SQL query. Because there's no way you can, well, what can you get? You can do subtotals, and it'll show the subtotal on each group, and you could have the groups collapsed. Let's see really quick. Let's just see.
That's kind of where I was thinking. I couldn't quite get it to work, and I didn't know if I was approaching it wrong.
Let's see here. This is subtotals and grouping reports. So let's create a quick entity so we can have some stuff that's meaningful. Just call loan app, and we'll put name and I guess it'll be amount.
Yeah, try amount and date. So we just need something that we can group by. The date's a good one.
I'll just do an integer here and just show add, edit, delete. Let me get that created, refresh, and add a few instances of that. So let me see real quick. Where's that at? Add and user find loan app. So this will be 1, amount will be 100, and the date will be today. And this will be loan 1. Let's add another one here. This would be 200. We'll make the date also today. This will be loan 2. And then I'll add a third one with a different date. This will be for 1200. This will be for 1128. This will be loan 3. Okay, so if I come and create a report, and I point that report at my data source, which is the entity I just created, which is loan app. Come here, and I'll put name, I'll put amount, and I'll put dates. I guess we didn't need date theoretically if we
Well,
use an
we'd like to
entity.
group by date. What
But-
I'd like to get to is like loan 1 and loan 2. It'd
Okay,
be awesome if we can make that be one line that totals 300.
so we could group by date.
Mm-hmm.
That should give us 2 groups, right? Now, if we come back into results, we can add a subtotal, and the field would be the amount. The aggregation type would be sum, since it's a number. We'll say fixed, everything else is defined. And we'll say the displayed name would be sum amount. So you could say, we could change this to total, click OK. Now let's just run this and see what we get. So we get total amount 300. Now we could
Nice.
also, we could collapse this on, you could have it start on a report view. You should be able to load it in collapsed view.
Mm-hmm.
So you could load it like this. Interesting. I guess it's only going to show you the grouped value here. You can have multiple of
Which
these.
is good. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So you can have as many subtotals as you want. So you could have like, I guess just to sort of to demo that a bit more, we could add one here. We could also do amount, but instead of a count, we'll do average. We'll say average amount, leave that the same. And if we run that, you can see total and average would be comma separated in. So inside of the group header.
Now, do me a favor, and that's really good. I'm glad you showed me this. If one of the things that that client would like to do is be able to download this to an Excel spreadsheet, would that total amount and average amount come through and you export on this?
Let's see. I don't think so, but let's try. Maybe it will. So let's download. Okay, we'll do default everything. Okay, I'm gonna just get this added to a quick Google Sheet so I can drag it over just a minute here. Import, upload. Import data, replace sheet. And oh yeah, look at that, it does. This is what it would come out looking like with the default Excel template. So it would group here, and then you'd get your data rows underneath the group row, and then on the bottom would be your total amount. So it's not formatted exactly the same. But yeah,
So this
is
presents it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes out right now.
All right.
Now,
Cool.
if you needed more or absolute control, there's a thing in here. If you look under settings, there's this output handler. This is a special flow behavior that you can create. And this takes in report data and outputs a file. I'm not going to actually set it up, but let's assume that I set a constant file here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you get with this, so you can take in the report data, you can build your own completely custom file available. And if you click run report, go back to the gear to download and click the download. And then here under format, you should have, or output type. No, stink, where's it at? You should get that option. Where's it at? Output handler. Oh, it didn't save it. Sorry, let me select this. Run that report again. Come back to download. I think format, nope. Output type is the output handler flow. So this would be the name of the flow.
Okay, cool.
So it's, I think for me, I think it's kind of odd that it's under output type. But if you need a completely custom output format available from the download action, you can build an output handler flow. It has report data as its input, and it outputs a file as, which would be what it runs the flow to source the file. So that's what you see here, output file data. And then if you look in Data Explorer, you get access to report data here.
So if you wanted to have like custom headers or something like that, like the top of the Excel spreadsheet should say total and created for client number 1, and then have the output of that appear after those things, you would do that here.
Yeah, correct. If you,
Okay.
if you want to use, this is only meaningful if you want them to make use of the default download action in the report header and you're not giving it like a separate flow to run. Like you could still like, yes, that's correct. Sorry, let me just answer yes.
All right, cool. And show me again one more time. Where did you go for those aggregates?
It's
the
under
report?
results.
And under
Mhm.
subtotals, right?
Yeah, so if you click into
Okay.
it should be results and then subtotals. And then these also can
Gotcha.
show up as things that you can add charts for. So if you needed, I don't know, I guess these series show, this one's not showing, never mind. But yeah, subtotals give you those,
Cool.
those grouping row values.
All right, cool. And we can tell it to start collapsed so that they can basically just see
Yep.
those subtotals that they want to see. Okay.
I think you can only do that if you're using a report viewer on a page, just to be clear. Like I think the start and collapse mode is a setting only on the report viewer.
Okay.
Not on the report itself. So I don't think that you can send someone. I don't think you can send someone to grid view, group options. Levels format, huh? I've never seen that. Yeah, I think you have to use a report viewer to do it. If we look at, I think it is just load collapsed. If we make a quick page here and see what that's, let's see, page, and report viewer, and then here, view would be default view mode, grid setting, save report, show, search. Allow group collapsing, show action bar. I'm sure I probably went right by it.
Would it be under grid?
It might be. No, that's default or
Layout view.
compact. Grid
I see
settings.
allow group collapsing, but
yeah, I don't think it's there. Can't add columns. Calendar view mode, show header, hide header, default view. Stink. Someone help me on the call. I know we can do this. I've done it before.
I'm looking on documentation to find it for you, Will. Give me a second.
So maybe it's under behavior, actually. We're only in view right now. Let's look under behavior. Start multi-select. No, collapse on load. Here it is. If you set collapse on load, and then let's just pick our report here. Oops. Which will pick the report we just made. And then let's see if preview will do it for us or not. Yeah, then it'll load it in collapse mode for you automatically.
all right, cool. Now, does how it's presented on the page there affect how it exports to Excel, or is it going to export the same every time?
It'll export
Like
the same.
Okay, so if it's collapsed now, it's still going to show in Excel. It's going to show all the detail.
Let me double check. I think it will. I don't think it. Fair enough. Let me answer that concretely for you. I'm just going to open it up in Excel. Yeah, it's still correct. It doesn't matter if you filter. I believe it'll show you the filtered view. So like if let's say we'll just let's only do loan 3. That gives us 1, and then we download it. I believe it should download the filtered view. Yes, so it will only export what is shown on the screen currently, but even if it is collapsed, it will give you all of the information for any of the rows that should be shown.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool.
Perfect. Yeah, that's got me, man. I appreciate it.
You bet, man. Happy to help. All right, so that is Terry. And on to Josh. So Josh you have a CSV with 248 columns, of which you need 7 to create a defined data structure. Is there an easy way to extract just those 7 columns? I'm trying to find a way to loop through the rows using get values, but I'm getting stuck. How can I limit selection? Okay, so that's, let me get these questions. Oh, Sabs is all over. Thank you, Sabrina. Yeah, so
So I really want to avoid dragging 248 lines when I only need 7 of them, to match them up, import by column. Because so like in general, like I would just loop through the CSV and use a dynamic data row, but that maxes out at 99. And some of my
yep.
columns
Mhm.
are after 99, and I can't type in like column 155. It won't take it.
Yep.
So,
So there's a couple options here. The easiest way to do it is still a little bit of a pain, but there is no column count restriction like there is with dynamic data row. There's a step in import Excel CSV.
Right.
And on this, have you used this step before?
Okay, yeah, keep on going.
I'm just going to find the data type I just made for Terry's question, just make it easy.
Okay.
And then what I can do here is I can say there's 248 columns. Now,
Right, so
the pain,
I still have to map all of them.
well, you have to click into and say skip for the ones that you don't want, and then select the ones you do. I know there's 248 of them, so it's still kind of a pain.
Right. Okay.
So that's the most straightforward one to use, but admittedly, I mean, I understand that having to click skip 241 times isn't ideal. Now, there's also one in here that I'm not as familiar with, but is import Excel CSV runtime mapping. And this one, I'm going to select my loan app again and start on row 1, file data mapping, list of mapping, build array. I got to remember how to do this really quick. Column number. Okay, so I think this is probably the best bet for you. So pass in your file, right?
Okay.
And then you have this mapping array here.
Okay.
And so you can come and say, all right, column 14 is going to be a number, right? And here's the name, and here's a default value and things like that. And you can add, and it should only pull out. And then here, you do the same kind of thing. You do build data. Column number now is going to be, 121, right? You have to set these values correctly.
Okay.
So you do have to specify field type.
Right. Okay.
And field name, I guess. Field name, I think you set as the property name on the type here. I think. So like in our example, right, this is number. So this would be like amount, right?
Okay.
And then this would be name. And then we would add another one, right? And it would be, let's just assume we've got some big CSV. Oops, I'll do build data. And then column number for that is, 247. And then the field type for that is date. And then the field name would be, I think date is what we named that.
Okay. What is it output? It outputs a list.
It outputs the data type itself. So it does the data mapping in the step for you. So if you look at Data Explorer, you can see imported data comes out of this step, and it's of type loan app. So it's whatever the data type you specify on the output data option. And it takes this information and it says, you're going to get a list of data structures equal to the count of items in your CSV, like the number of rows.
Right.
Right. And you specify the row to start on. So you can
ignore. And then I loop through that to add it to the database.
If you want to insert them, I'd probably just go straight into like a batch insert step if it's a local. Do batch insert.
I haven't seen that step either. Okay.
And then it'll be one step. You set your type here, loan application, and then entities. You would pass in your imported data.
Nice. Okay. So here I learned so much because I've been doing this 6 steps to get this all in. So now there's no way to do it like I would what I was where I got stuck doing it the way I was thinking about it was I know the column numbers and I can loop through the whole CSV and do it again. This is probably a lot slower than what you just showed me. I can loop through the CSV
you can.
I wrote.
Yep.
And then, but how do I run the loop so I assign it to the right thing through each in the sub loop? Do you get my question?
So you're doing it through Git, you've got some sort of, you can do this. It gives you a lot of control. It's quite burdensome, but
right.
You're using get value from cell or something like that.
Yeah, it's just a get value step. It's called get value.
Get value. So in this, yeah, so here you're passing in, you're specifying the column, you're specifying the file type, ignoring your first row, pass in your file, specify the row you're on, and then specify the worksheet number, and you get a string of the output. So theoretically, what you'd have, assuming you're in some loop, is you'd have a couple of these things.
Right.
Like,
I have 12 of them linked up. So there's no faster way to do that through. I can't have like a loop assign, create a variable, a set of, like, I can't have it generate just keep on modifying an entity or whatever.
correct, yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, you
that
can't, I
be
mean,
done.
you can, like, but you'd still need one of these steps for each column,
right.
row, each cell that you need to pull. But then you could have those pass into like an add item step, list add item. Oh, that's not the right step, sorry. I want add item to list. And then here, you specify your data type. And it's loan app. And then you could do build data. And then like this would be, so this is get value 1.
Oh, okay, right.
This is going to
okay.
be get value 2, right? And this will be get value 3.
Right. Okay.
And then here you could use like the item mapping editor, and you could say, value 1 is
right. Okay.
is amount, is name. That seems wrong. I don't know why there's so many names there. It really wants me to do names. Something's wrong there.
All right, so it's an import Excel or CSV runtime mapping. Okay, let me just take a note here. And then,
but yeah, this is because if that thing changes, like if you get a new column that you need to add, you can just simply come to your mapping array, add a new item, set it up, and then it'll do all of the mapping for you. So this is a much more streamlined process here. If you can get this to work. Now, this gives you full control. So if you hit issues or you have something that's like a CSV that's not very machine readable, like it has like headers and weird like sections and things, it's not just a straight CSV. It's more of a, like when Excel turns into business applications.
Yeah,
no,
this is Medicare data, so it's pretty reliable. But
then I would approach it this way, man. I think you'd have great success using this approach, and it's pretty, and this should be fast. Now, if it's really big, if the CSV is significant in size, and processing speed is important, then this step, even if it's a pain in the butt to set up initially, is blazingly fast. And this is what I would recommend you use. This is the fastest way to import an Excel or CSV file in a flow right now.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Not this evening, afternoon. I'm in Israel, so it's nighttime for me. So, but thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Yep.
All right. So that was Josh's question. All right. Okay. How can I limit selections on a form drop-down list depending on a user's decisions group? Okay. So the first question is, where do the things in the drop-down list come from? There's oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Were you asking me, or because they're coming from a folder?
They're in a folder.
Yeah, my request, and they're attached to a template. So when they choose the request type, they have a template they can download, which is associated with it. But now I have to get my user group, which I've done, but somehow incorporate it into, how do I filter down that selection by user group?
So are these templates are some sort of entity in a folder somewhere?
Yes.
And then your groups have access to different folders?
No, so they're running the flow, and then they choose their request type, and depending on the request type they choose, they download a template which is associated with that request type.
Okay.
Right? So I have the request types, they're all set up, they're all in a folder, They're all
Mhm.
attached. Everything's working properly. The drop downs and everything are working properly on the form. But I need to get the group they're in.
Sure.
So say there were sales, then sales only get a limited amount of request types available to them.
Right. And how does the request type of the template know sales has access to it right now?
So right now it doesn't. It just, everybody that logs in and has permissions to run the flow can see all the request types. But I don't want some of them to see some of the request types.
Okay. But all the request types live in a single folder somewhere?
Yes.
Okay. And a request type is an object that you've created or you have control over, like an entity or something?
Yeah. Yes.
So what I would do is, what's the right way to do this? This should be easier than the thing I'm going to walk you through here, Jackie. But so let's see. This is filter drop down list items. Okay, so I'm going to add an entity. Excuse me. I'm going to create an entity here called request template. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it, all right, this is an entity, so I get name already. And I'm just going to say allowed group, allowed group. And it's just going to be a string. Now it could be a list, but the general principle is the same. I'm going to add a property to my object that says allowed group or allowed group list. We'll just make this a list because almost certainly you're going to have a list. Now we could either do a list or we could format a comma separated string and handle it manually. Let's just do this. We'll add a request template, show our CRUD actions here. Refresh here. And then I'm going to add a folder. This will be all templates or whatever, something like that. I'm just trying to map what I'm imagining you're doing in my mind's eye here a bit. So that's all templates. I'm going to add a request template here. The name will be request template 1. And the allowed group list is going to say administrators. And then I'm going to add another one. At any time, if I go off from your example, just please let me know. This will be called request template 2. And the allowed group list, this is going to be a fake group that I'll just create, which is like, I'll just call it fake group. So let's go build our flow. So we're going to have our main flow here. And I'm assuming right now you're doing some sort of fetch. So we're going to fetch our request template objects. And then we're going to show them in a drop-down list on a form. Excuse me, create new. I'm going to create a new form here, blank form. I'm going to put a button on the form. And I'm going to put, I guess, let me not do that. Let me undo. There we go. I'm going to put a drop-down list here. And this list input source will be data name. The list items data name is going to be, request templates. Yeah, that's fine. The type will be, I'll pass in the whole request template object. Request template. Display field will be the name or the entity name. And this will be selected request template. All right, and okay, and then request templates come from our fetch entity step, right? Selected, we will ignore. So if we run this, I should get a drop-down list with request template 1 and request template 2. So what we need, so what we want is, this is probably a place where, so I have a list on my object. So I say where allowed group list. I can't deal with the list directly. So probably what I need to do is add a collection. I don't like using this, but as long as this isn't there's not a ton of these things. This is a decent approach. What we're going to use is this collection filter step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in my input collection, which will come from entity results. And then you can see here the data to return, it's going to return the matches, and it's going to return my request template type. And there's this special hidden rule on this step. I'm going to click edit rule. Now I'm going to click into my rule here and I see an entity. So what you can imagine is happening in this step right now is there's a hidden, there is a hidden for each step that is looping through each item in the list and applying the rule we're going to write. And I write that rule against this thing called entity. You can see it's a single request template versus the all of them. So I'm going to select an entity, and I'm going to say I'm going to find the allowed group list, which is a string list, and I'll say if this list contains any, and I'm going to then I can pass a list of strings, and I'm going to pull that list of strings from flow data. So I'm going to open up flow data, and I'm going to find initiating user groups, which is a string array. And then I can walk back through this in more detail too. Plus, we'll post the recording here. I know I'm kind of probably fudging over some important details. What I'm going to do is say I'm going to have the rule collection filter step update the entity results value so that I can keep my mapping the same and I don't have to worry about renaming mappings. So I'll come to my rule collection filter step, change this from rename to change value, and I'll select entity results. Now, if I did this right and I debug my flow again, I should only get, let's see, rule collection filter, fake group. Oh, hold on. I need to edit my rule here. It has not any. It can't be any. It's not list contains any. It's list contains not all. It should be any. If the entity allowed group list contains, it shouldn't have administrators. Sorry, just a moment. I always write rules wrong the first time.
Yeah, I went round and round with this the other day.
So administrators is true. This is false. So if we look at what comes out of here, it should just be a single item. It's one item. Did it not take my change value chain? Change value entity results, entity results. Both are there. Request templates has 2 items in it. Okay, something's wrong. I'm not sure what. Oh, output is list of strings. That's not right. It thinks it's outputting a string. It's ignoring that. Data Explorer. What's wrong with this thing? Input collection is stuck on list of strings. Let's try this again. Type is request template. Okay. The output is input collection entity results. We're going to change value of entity results. Now, did I lose my rule? My rule is still there. There we go. So some reason that rule collection filter didn't update appropriately. So what I did here is I'm fetching all of those entities, those request template objects, right? And then I'm passing them this rule collection filter, and you can see both the executions here. And so I edited that request template object to add a property called allowed group list. I edited that data type to include a string list property called allowed groups. Now I would go in and I would add the approved groups for that request template as items in that an allowed group list, right? And then I made use of the fact that the workflow engine has the current user or initiating users group list available to it. And if I know those two things are true, I can use a rule collection filter to say only return me results that where the allowed group list contains any of the current users groups. And you can see it passes for the first one because we set it to administrators, and I am an administrator, and it fails for the second because I'm looking for fake group, and fake group is not in the list of groups that for the current user.
Okay, so I am missing something. So in my list, there are 13 different request types and different groups. Like I can't just flag them as administrator or sales, like as my specific request types. So you're saying to create another entity?
I added a property to an entity. So request types is assuming this is my analog of your data type. I'm assuming, since you don't, given what you said, that you don't have a property on your request object or your template object, whatever it's called, that says these are the users that are allowed to see it right now, right? That's the behavior we're trying to add.
Right.
So let's assume this already existed, and I came in and I added a new property to this thing called allowed group list, which is a string list.
Oh, okay. All right. So, okay. I guess the problem is, and I can do that. And I was thinking about that. I guess, well, I have 3 solutions that are sharing this, and they're all, so should I go back to, I guess I go back to my other solutions and just add like NA or something to that additional property?
Well, I mean, you don't, if you think about this, like if I only care in certain areas to filter, I can, prior to showing those forms, I could put the filtering behavior in. Where in other flows, if I don't care where I filter, I could just I could bypass this rule collection filter step completely or not even add it. It's like, this is only filtering here because we've added this additional step in between however you're fetching, and then the form that you're showing the items in the drop down list on.
Right. So, okay. Yeah, I'm still missing something, but perhaps I can look through this and give it a try and see, because I think I'm still missing. I think I'm still missing something, but I'm not getting it right now. So I'll go through this and I'll see to recreate this and see if that works for me.
Sure. Yeah, let us know. We'll post the recording later today so you have access to it on YouTube.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so JK, you have a question about moving up and down conditions within a rule. You should be able to move these.
Yeah, I don't see a provision to do it, Bill, right? So I have a complex if and either or conditions, right? So, each condition has a bunch of and blocks, right? And once I add them, there's no easy way for me to move the condition up and down. So if there's a way, please show it to me.
Yeah, let's see. I'm just going to make a rule here really quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it in a couple times. I'm just going to leave it the same.
No, actually, in my case, I'm doing either or condition. Can you do either or, please?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yes. Yeah. So keep adding more stuff onto the.
You want more ors?
Exactly, more ors. Yes. So now.
More ors. Sounds like a commercial. Okay.
Okay. So now let's say I want to move the third or to the top. How do I do it?
Add either or. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Interesting. I thought we had to move up. So right click. Okay. You're trying to move within the ors specifically?
Exactly, correct.
Okay, we added move up. How about this? This isn't going to be graceful, but this is what I could do for you now.
Yeah.
if you add a, no, that won't do it. No, that's not gonna do it. Let me remove this. Stink. Hmm. I think the only way would be, yeah, if you need to shuffle one to the top, I think the only way is going to be to right click, copy the ones above it, paste it below, and then remove.
No, I mean, it's not just, moving up. I could be inserting in between, right?
Yeah. It doesn't exist right now is what is the long and short of it.
Okay.
It exists. It exists for the and statements. We can move the the ands around.
That's right.
But it doesn't exist inside of the or group at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. See, the only way I found was that, I take a copy, a backup of the role, and I have to do it all over again. That's all I do. And it's so painful. Yeah.
Let me, I bet this is probably a pretty straightforward addition for us.
Okay.
I mean, if we have move up already here, I'm sure we can probably get this added.
Exactly. Like if you click on, can you right click on the little R inside that block, right? So that's what I would like to see, a move up, down option.
Yeah,
right?
understood. Yeah. Yeah, let me, who's on the call here? Let's, if I could ask you, if you could, do you mind just submitting a ticket into support?
Okay.
And then we can see if we can't get this into an upcoming 6X release. It doesn't exist right now. And admittedly, you're right. This would be terrible, would be awful. And I'm assuming it's probably a pretty straightforward addition since we've already got the move behavior. We just didn't add it inside of the either or blobs or blocks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Okay. Great questions today, everyone. Any other questions from anyone in the audience? Nothing from anyone? Okay. If I guess we'll just call it a day. If you guys have a question, just do the raise hand thing now. Okay, I want to make sure no one's typing in anything. But it doesn't look like anyone's got any questions, so we'll call it an afternoon. Thanks everyone for your time. We'll send out the Sabs, if we could send Jackie the recording once we got it uploaded, since she specifically asked to review about that scenario. I banged through really quickly there. Please.
Absolutely.
And other than that, thanks everyone. And Brendan will be your host tomorrow. So thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon.